So for the last 4 years, I've been doing a little challenge where every time that I walk into a GameStop, if I see somebody hotter than me, I have to leave immediately, no exceptions. This started about November of 2019, Pokemon Sword and Shield had just released, and I was looking to pick it up from my local GameStop. And as I looked around the store, I couldn't help but think, holy fuck, there's a lot of nerds around here. Like, there was this one guy who looked like a shrimp because his posture was so bad. There was like another guy with the worst body odor I've ever smelled. You know, like your average crowd at your average GameStop. And immediately after I look around, I start to break out into like a nervous sweat. And I start thinking to myself, am I the most attractive man in this fine establishment? No fucking way, right? At the time, I had terrible acne, I had terrible posture, I had no fucking fashion because I wore the same 5 outfits every single day. And so I realized at that moment, I'm technically the most attractive man in this GameStop, but only by a small margin. And then a brazen thought just occurs to me. What if I impose a challenge on myself, where every time that somebody walks into this GameStop and they're hotter than me, I have to leave, I have to put down every single game that I'm buying, and I have to come back the next day to try again. And as soon as I come up with this flamboyant idea, 2 girls walk into the store right behind me, and so I leave immediately. Not because I decided to do the challenge, but because women scare the shit out of me. But as I was standing outside of the GameStop, I was trying to catch my breath and everything, I started to think, wow, that was the most pathetic thing I've ever done in my entire life. So I might as well just continue with the challenge, just that way I'm not so embarrassed about what just happened. And so I just went home and I decided to get the game the next day, which is one of the rules. Once I leave the GameStop on that day, I have to come back the next day. And you might be thinking, wow, what a stupid fucking rule. You know, I agree, but think about it this way, a man's gotta have standards. Like, professionals have standards. So when I'm doing this challenge, I'm not gonna half-ass it, alright? That's why it's called a challenge, is that when you fail it, you get punished, and you get punished hard. So this is my way of punishing myself a little bit. I promise you, I'm not a masochist. So I went back the next day and, you know, I had my hair done and everything, like I was wearing nicer clothes. And, you know, at the time, I'm looking at this footage now and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is what my idea of good fashion was? Holy fuck, no wonder I didn't get any bitches at the time. But, you know, at the time I thought I was looking pretty fly. And then right as I'm about to head into the GameStop, I see some people my age walk in and, you know, I can't compete with them. And so I had to leave and I had to try again the next day. And so I was finally able to get Pokemon Sword and Shield on that day. And it was probably like the worst game that I've ever played because of how lazy it was. But let's forget that for a moment, because on that moment, it felt like I had accomplished something big. And at the end of the day, this was just a silly challenge that I thought of in the spur of a moment, but I had no idea that this would change the course of my life forever. So I just wanted to talk about some of the wackiest and goofiest adventures that I've had over the last 4 years doing this stupid challenge. So 3 months after I got Pokemon Sword and Shield, Animal Crossing and Doom, they both released at around the same time, and I wanted to play both of them. And the problem is that every single fucking time that I would walk into the GameStop, there would be either some gorgeous e-girl or some absolute Giga Chad buying Doom or Animal Crossing. Like, I would literally go to the GameStop all dressed up, my hair's done and everything, and I walk in and I just see the most beautiful person I've ever seen in my entire life, like a literal work of art, and I'm like, fuck dude, I can't buy the game today. And then I'd go in tomorrow and then the same fucking thing would happen. And so this would continue for like over a month. And then eventually I was like, you know what, I'm just going to give up on getting the game. And you may be asking, why not just buy these 2 games online on the Nintendo eShop? The answer is because a man's gotta have standards. Professionals have standards. Also because I didn't have a credit card at the time. And so a couple months passed and I decided that I wanted to go get the new Dragon Ball game. And then I walk in, I look at the cashier, and it's just some 6'5" Giga Chad. He looks like some Walmart version of Adam Sandler if Adam Sandler was the greatest Chad of all time. He looked like Super Sonic from The Boys. And so I literally walk in, I see the cashier working there, and I'm like, fuck! And it was at this point that I realized I'm kind of playing the game wrong. The way that I'm doing this challenge is all wrong. Instead of hoping for uglier people at the GameStop so that way I can buy my games in peace, I should instead be hoping for myself to become a more attractive man. And thus, my journey to become a more attractive man began. Like, I started paying more attention to my hair and my posture, I took medication for my acne, and I literally worked as much as possible. I started taking extra shifts so that way I could afford medication for my acne. I know that's kind of ironic that I'm saying this, as my hair looks like a fucking bird's nest right now, but you have to trust me on this one, okay? Anyways, the point that I'm trying to make is that it was just the greatest training arc that anybody's ever seen. Now, I would have liked to say that I just became so attractive and handsome that I became more attractive than the Giga Chad working at the counter, but the truth is that he just quit and then I never saw him again in my entire life. If Mr. Giga Chad, if you're watching this right now, I'd like to say a couple of words to you. Thank you very much, I mean, also fuck you because you prevented me from buying any games for like 6 months straight, but also thank you very much because you inspired me in some twisted way to become a more attractive and confident man. Anyway, here's me 5 months ago as I decided to get the new Pokemon game, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. A lot better than Pokemon Sword and Shield, I might add. My fashion's pretty good, you know, my hair's not bad, my face is not as miserable as well, and so I walked inside, I felt good, there was no issues with me buying the game, and so there's just a big difference between me 4 years ago and me 5 months ago. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that this was a fun challenge to do, and it actually did kind of change my life, and I'm super glad that I took on this challenge. And so I highly recommend that everybody watching does not do this challenge because, you know, it would make my life harder. If this becomes a viral challenge, you know, I'll never be able to buy a video game ever again, and I don't want that. So don't fucking do this challenge, alright? Please, I'm begging you. If you should do anything, you should subscribe. Anyways, that's about it. My name is KFC Legends, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.